branch of the military were you in?
I was in the Navy.
Navy, and what years were you in the military?
I went in 42 and got out in 46.
Okay, so you saw quite a bit of World War II.
Quite a little.
When you were in. So tell me, when you joined the military, did you join here in the Detroit Lakes area?
Yes.
And Detroit Lakes is where you grew up.
Yes, I grew up in Detroit Lakes and
How old were you? when you joined?
18.
18.
Just
And
18.
were they recruiting?
Well, I don't know if they were. I suppose they were, but I just joined up after I graduated.
And what branch were you in?
The Navy,
Navy.
and I was Navy, but I was attached to the Marines, a medic with the Marines.
What do you remember? What month of the year it was?
I went in the service in, I think it was September of 42. And I went to boot camp in Farragut, Idaho. And after boot camp, I was waiting for assignment I was the one to go to electrician school. And they took 500 of us, I think it was, and sent us to corps school because they were short a corpsman.
Okay. What did that entail, being a corpsman?
Well, I don't know, we went to school, I don't know how long, I can't remember the exact time, but I got, when I got out, I was about the top of my class in corps school, and so I was supposed to get assignment where I wanted to go, and it didn't work that way. I was sent overseas. I worked at the hospital at the Naval Hospital in Farragut for, I guess during the time I was going to corps school and after for a few months.
How long was corps school?
I can't remember. I think it must have been about 6 or 8 weeks.
So during that time you worked at the hospital?
Yeah, I worked in surgery.
Okay, what kind of patients were there?
Oh, we had everything. A lot of, I worked for a kidney doctor, and the first day I worked there, I went in and assisted an operation where they removed the kidney, and I got sick because I had never seen anything like that before, where they just cut him right around, they just on the side, and the nurse held me out. She said, "You go out and rest for a while, and I come back." And after that, they did another kidney removal and appendix removal, and I was set.
So you recovered from that first operation?
Yeah, that first one was kind of bad but anyway, then I got was going to go overseas, and I can't remember exact date when that was. And I went to New Zealand, and there's a naval hospital in New Zealand that I worked at, and I worked in a psycho ward. We had Navy nurses there in charge, and we worked for the Navy nurses and doctors. And there we had Captain Stouffer was our chief medical officer at the hospital, and I become close to him, and so I got pretty good treatment there. Except I was there a short time, and they I think they took 6 of us, 6 medics, and they sent us to Guadalcanal. And I was attached to the 1st Marine Division as a medic. And we finished Guadalcanal, and
Can I
The
stop
first
you just a
part?
minute? Guadalcanal, you went there. How long were you there at
I,
Guadalcanal?
I can't remember exact dates, but I must have been there, 3 or 4 months.
What did you do while you were there?
I was working in the field with the Marines.
And
And we had, we'd set up the base, small tent and I worked in surgery, and we set up small tents for medical purposes for the guys that were wounded and that. And then I'd go out and patrol too with the Marines. And I can't remember how, must have been there 4 or 5 months. And then I went in there when I didn't go when they retook Henderson Field. That's when we went in. And
and what was Henderson Field?
that's airfield in Guadalcanal.
Okay.
And that was my first really action we had, because I never seen anything like that, where all the ships were bombing and planes were bombing and the ships were shooting into the shore. And then I had to walk. Then I had to go down the ladder down the nets into the landing craft, and I had my pack, and I had 4 medical packs, a rifle, a pistol, and 200 rounds of ammunition. I was loaded. And then we dropped our packs when we hit the shore. But that was my first combat action I had then. And then after we got relieved, some Army unit came in that relieved the 1st Marines, and it was pretty well secured then. And we went to the Russell Islands, which is right close. I don't know how far from.
Can I go back a little bit, because I sense that there's a lot more to the story. You know, when you were at Guadalcanal there, you had the tent set up.
Well, we just did what we had to do, what was required of us.
So what were the kind of orders that you got?
You know, we didn't, nobody told us, you just kind of volunteered. If they want to go on a patrol, it's who's going, and okay, I'll go. You know, and if there's we had a lot of casualties. We worked in the field hospitals, right? But they're not close to front lines, these field hospitals.
How did you manage, how did you take care of the people? There must have been
Well, we
space
had,
issues, the people.
what we had though, we had hospital ships out in the harbor. And so we'd get them so we could get them out to there. We'd take care of whatever we had to do, we did so we'd get them out to hospital ships, and the ones that were possible had a chance. But we just did emergency surgery or emergency repairs that we had to do.
So what you did was to keep somebody alive.
That's
or
right.
Emergency to get.
We
them
had a
out
lot of cases where the guys just got out of it, and you just couldn't handle them. And it'd take 3 or 4 guys to tie them down, and so we get them out to hospital ships. Some of them were wild.
You think maybe you're talking about a psychotic experience.
Yes.
Okay.
And when I was in New Zealand, I was in a ward that was a psychotic ward, and so I had some experience there. Boy, it was.
Were there a lot of people in there?
You know, we were just busy all the time when we're in combat. But
Were they from all sorts of different countries, or were they U.S. or?
all U.S. that I had, and I don't know of any foreign countries. I had one experience in Guadalcanal. We had a Japanese prisoner, and so he was, I don't know what, I think he had been wounded or something. I went to change his dressing or something, and had a Marine sergeant with me, And the guy could speak English. And he got in an argument with the Marine sergeant. 'Cause the Japanese called Roosevelt something, I don't know. And the Marine sergeant said something about Tojo, and they went at it. No, what? Bang! No more Japanese.
You shot him or?
Shot him right there. And, you know, we didn't take very many prisoners, unless we want some information. But my first experience with that was, I was on patrol and we run into some Marines that had been captured and hung on trees and bayoneted. And you see that about 3 or 4 times. You don't take prisoners. And we didn't. And I carried a rifle. Even the medics, the medics, we never had, we didn't have any armbands on us that we were medics. And all the officers, you couldn't, if you didn't know them, you didn't know if they were an officer either.
No identification?
No, no identification. And that's why they showed, I think that's why they gave me a .45 to carry with me, in case I was captured, that if I wanted to not be punished or treated bad, I could use it on myself. I think that's why they gave it to us. I carried that .45 all the time I was out there, and I flew back to the States, and they took it away from me. They said you could stay here or give me your .45, so I had to give it to them.
So in Guadalcanal, you didn't have many prisoners. What about, did you have any Americans that had been prisoners that escaped?
I can't remember any prisoners that we had there. We handled some of the, later on I'll tell you this, we handled some of the prisoners that came back from Bataan. I was on Palaloo at that time, and they landed there, and they come through there, and but I can't exactly tell you how long I was on Guadalcanal, but
Okay.
And then we went to the Russell Islands.
And where's the Russell Islands?
It's not too far from Guadalcanal. I had an experience over in Guadalcanal. Before we left there, I went, all the women were sent, women and children were sent to another island, to the natives. And I went over to this island with a doctor for sick call. We took a landing craft over there, and I think I went over there twice. But the first time when I went in there, boy, what a shock. This woman was nursing her baby, had her on her back, and she had her breast over her shoulder feeding the baby. And it was really, I went over there twice, I think, to give them pills and things, but that was quite an experience. And then,
different culture.
yeah,
What you were used to.
and then when we were on the Russell Islands, that's where all the Marines, the 1st Marine Division was sent after Guadalcanal to get prepared for the next trip we made, which was Palaloo. And I went in on Palaloo. We went into Palaloo we had an LST, we took an LST.
What's an LST?
It's a landing craft that we had tanks and trucks, and I think we had a few tanks in there too. But anyway, on the way to Palaloo, we're in a big convoy, and a hurricane went through here, and we were on this LST, which is not very comfortable in a hurricane. We didn't eat for 2 days, and that was an experience in itself. Here I was in the Navy, and being on this LST was kind of nerve-wracking because none of us wore, we had quite a few people on there too, and none of us wore life jackets till we were in this convoy, and all at once destroyers come by us and throwing these deals with depth charges over everybody had a life jacket on after that day.
So where were the destroyers from?
Pardon?
The Japanese destroyers?
No, our
Or
own
your
destroyers. We had, I suppose there was 50 ships in the convoy, or whatever. It was a lot of them anyway.
And so a lot of people got sick on that.
Yeah, a lot of them got sick. But the day we went in, the night before we went in, we had steaks. We hadn't eaten for 2 days, but they fed us steaks. I remember that very well.
So what was your typical food when you were there?
Well, I suppose we never, we had these boxed rations, and you ate it, you didn't think anything about it because that's all there was. So, we had, on Russell Island, they had a lot of coconuts. We used to go down, it used to be a coconut plantation. So we used to, I bought a bow and arrow from a native, and I used to shoot coconuts out of the tree. I got pretty good with it. One of my best buddies, though, we were sleeping in tents, a platform on a tent with the sides up, there'd be about 20 of us, 15, 20 of us in this big tent. And he was in there, and he said, "You can't hit anything with that thing." And I was knocking off coconuts, and he was about 100 yards from me. I pulled back that bow and arrow, and I got him right in the ear. He jumped up, and he should have had the Purple Heart. He was wounded right in that bone there. The little arrow went so far, and I said, "Oh God!" So I got the arrow out and gave him his tetanus shot, and got rid of my bow and arrow after that.
Oh dear. So on Russell Islands, what was that? Was before you went to Palalou?
Yeah, Palalou, yeah.
Palalou?
Russell Island was just a staging area for the 1st Marine Division.
So that was, you were just there a little while then?
Yeah, we weren't, I can't remember exactly how long there. We were there a short time. And we didn't do anything special there. We just took care of anybody that, we had a first aid set up for anybody that needed anything. Mm-hmm. And
tell me about Palalou then. What was going on there?
oh boy.
Tell me your first day when you just got there.
The first day when I landed, I was in about the third or fourth wave went in. And the unit that went ahead of us, they had these great big cement bunkers, the Japanese did. And so we're going ashore, and there's some units ahead of us. And one of our guys, I don't know how he caught fire, but he caught fire, and he was running, and I chased after him and knocked him down and rolled in the dirt with him and got the fire out. And he was burned pretty bad, but I still know how he caught fire, but he did. And then we're moving in, and we're going through these bunkers, and there were dead Japs everywhere. And we didn't realize how many mines there was, and till we come out. And we had probably gone in a mile, and there was quite a little activity going, and we had quite a few casualties.
And when you say activity, what do you mean?
A lot of shooting.
Shooting.
And we had a lot of activity going, and we came back out, and the guys were picking up mines. And here we had gone through there, and not a one of us hit one. And which was...
And when you say they were picking up mines, what did you mean?
They had a group in there clearing
the mines
out of on the beach, along the beach area, where all these bunkers were.
And somehow your group, and how many were in your group?
I don't remember how many there was.
they had missed all of these though.
Yeah. There was probably 20 or 30 of us. I can't remember the exact number, but you have a job to do and you just go ahead and do it.
So what were you doing as you went through there?
Well, I was tending to the ones that are wounded and
And was that the Americans that were wounded?
yes,
or-
we didn't have to worry about the other ones because they were in caves. That was really a mess there.
So help me visualize what it looked like when you say a mess.
There was so much, you wouldn't think that they could be anybody alive left after the way they bombed it, and those big guns on the boats shooting. It just, everything was leveled. There's nothing there left. And yet, you hit shore, and there's all kinds of shooting and people hurt and this and that. But I was on, I don't remember, I think I was on Palau about 9 months. And after all the fighting was over with, we had it pretty good there. We got some good meals.
So how long did it take for the fighting though to be over with?
I don't know, it seemed like it was like maybe 2-3 weeks. It was quite a while, but we had work to do and we just did it.
What stopped the fighting?
Pardon?
What stopped the fighting?
There was not many left.
Yeah.
But I remember one time I went on patrol, and they had a hospital. The Japanese had a hospital underground, and we had 2 sets of instruments. One would be in the autoclave, and the other one would be using it. And I found some more complete units, and I hauled them out, plus gowns. We didn't have any gowns. It was so hot, and I bought gowns and slippers, and there was no, they had abandoned their hospital. It was underground hospital, and so our doctors had more to work with. I think we had 3 doctors with us. I can't remember exactly with our unit. And I don't know how many corpsmen. There was quite a few. But one of the things I did do on Guadalcanal, there was a kid from Fergus Falls that used to be a basketball player when I was going to high school. He was really a good basketball player. And I run across him. He was a corpsman, and I run across him over there, and he actually took the Marine training. I didn't. I never took the Marine training. I didn't have to go through. I didn't go through. Well, they just. I wasn't. The ones that they took from New Zealand, none of those guys had gone through the Marine training. But I was an expert marksmanship, and so we all carried rifles.
So, in the guy from Fergus Falls, you met him?
Yeah, and I said, God, I know you. You look familiar. And I'm from Fergus Falls. But that's about the only one I had around that from this area that was in our unit.
Can you tell me, you were obviously saving lives when you were there. Can you tell me about a particular incident when you saved somebody that really you remember to this day?
One special.
Can you share that with us?
He stepped on a landmine. He lost 2 legs and an arm. And his name was Johnson, and he was from Indiana. And I knew that, but we got him stabilized and got him out to the hospital ship. And I don't know if he made it or not, but that was probably one of the worst ones I had. That wounded is still alive.
people do you feel that you guys saved while you were there?
It's kind of hard to say. I don't know if you could put a count on it or not. A lot of times we sit with these field hospitals that were set up right close to the front lines, and we'd get mortars in on us a lot when we were working, and just.
Those dangerous conditions for yourself.
Well, you didn't even think about it. You could hear them come in, and we had a job to do. We just went ahead and did it. And we only operated on one Japanese that came into our compound one night, and he was pretty badly shot up. We took care of him, but we didn't have any plasma for him, so we wouldn't give him plasma when we just had enough for our own people. And but we took care of him up to the point where he died the next day. But that's the only Japanese that we ever worked with.
So, Honolulu, you were there for a few.
I was there 9 months. I think I was in Honolulu 9 months, and we were waiting for our next assignment.
Did you get mail from the States then?
Pardon?
Did you get mail from your family then?
Yeah, well, in a way, we got every once in a while you get a letter. I mean, they wrote, but we were moving a lot, and we never got paid. We had no place to spend it anyway. And then one of the things that on Peleliu, we had a Marine general come in. Things were pretty well secured then. And he wanted to look over some area, and he shouldn't have been in there. And anyway, they shot him. And they let his driver go, and he came back. So I went on patrol to go and get him. He said he was still alive. And when we got there, he wasn't. He had been shot with I guess they call it a dum-dum, where it goes in and expands, and his whole back was shot up. And we hauled him back. But that was probably the highest ranking general that was in the Marine Corps that I had anything that got killed that I know.
So what was, if you, obviously there's some bad things that happened, it was good that you were able to save this person, get out onto a ship. What was, after you went through this, I guess I'm trying to figure out what a typical day was like. In the beginning, there was probably not much rest.
Well, see, that's the thing. If there was any action, there was people wounded at night and daytime and anytime, and we had a group of Seabees, a black battalion of Seabees with us on Peleliu, and they were used as stretcher bearers and ammunition carriers, and they had a lot of casualties. And some great guys.
Did you have any chance, while all this was going on, to get to know people?
I had one of my best buddies, and I really feel bad because we were together all the time. He was from Arkansas. And we got discharged together, and we got our bus tickets home. Well, we got delayed everywhere we went. We got delayed some way, and it was about, I think, 10 days. Finally, I said, I have to go. I got to get home. I have a lot of money. He said, well, I'm not going yet. I got a call from after I got home. He said he was in jail in Chicago. I don't know whatever happened to him. And I just lost track of him. I never did find out whatever happened to him. But then I had another guy that Leroy Nagel, he's from Minnesota. And I kept in contact with him. And Leroy Nagel and I were together all the time too. There was about 4 of us that were pretty close together. And another one is Ansley Peterson. He lives in Morrisville, Illinois. And I still in contact with him quite a little. And let's see, there was a Petty from Chicago too. That I can't remember his last name. I mean his first name, but if anybody was going to be a surgeon, he was. He was good. And he was going to medical school when he got out.
Did you keep in contact with him too?
No, I lost contact with him too. See, that's the thing. I wish you think about it now that you wish you could have kept in contact with more of these people. But we had a bunch of guys from Louisiana, New Orleans, and you know, we had a good relationship, and we all worked hard, and that's what was nice about the unit we had.
So part of the benefit of that was knowing all of these people who had great to work with,
Yeah.
or skilled, or whatever.
We had a doctor. He was a baby doctor from Milwaukee, and I think he got killed later, but I can't remember exactly. But boy, talking about a great guy. He was something.
When you say that, what was it about him that was so
Well,
wonderful?
the thing is, he was so concerned about everybody, you know, and he, even us, he'd say, "You guys working too long." He worked day and night, you know, and we would too. And he wanted to make sure that we got our rest. Well, you don't rest when there's action.
So, when you were saying it got better at Palaloo after the fighting stopped,
Yeah.
tell me about how you felt then, and what kind of experiences, what your day was like then when it started.
Well, I enjoyed fishing, and I got to, one of the sea battalion had a boat, and so I got out fishing with that quite a few times, and hooked a big shark one time that about pulled me in. And I used to pick up seashells. I enjoyed that. Till I had a run-in with a big coral snake about 6 foot long and about 3 inches in diameter.
Ooh.
And he chased me out of the water for about a half a mile.
Oh, they're in the water?
Yeah. I heard something. I was in the water up to my knee. I had combat boots on, and I had a machete with me. And I was out there about a half mile out in the water in this reef, picking up cat eyes and some other kind of shells. And I heard this ripple in the water. I looked back, and he's coming right at me, sticking his head out of the water. And I ran. I had the machete flipping up behind me like everything, and I got up on the little reef out there, and he came right up on the reef, and I said, "Oh boy, this is no place for me anymore." And everyone shell hunting again. He was big.
Wow, how long was he?
Well, about 6, 8 foot. You know, he's a great big round like that. And he's out of the water like this, swimming like this.
Oh my goodness, that must have been frightening.
We used to sleep with the coral snakes, the little ones. You know, they're about 12 inches. They'd crawl every night. You'd have 2 or 3 you'd kill at night in your tent. They'd crawl in, but they couldn't bite you. They couldn't get their mouth open wide.
Mm-hmm.
So
They're coming in because it was warm, probably.
yeah. Then the other thing we had too is they call them land crabs, and they'd migrate from the ocean. And you go along the trail, the road along the ocean with a jeep or something, and just crush. Then they'd crawl in your darn tent at night and bite you. And there'd be 2 of us in a tent, and every night we'd have to kill 10 or 12 of those darn land crabs. And they were about like that.
Why were they biting you?
I don't know. I never asked them. They stunk. Oh,
Stunk like the ocean. So what other experiences, after Honolulu?
what happened then, when EWA started, we were sent to Guam. We flew to Guam. And we were classified, I guess, as an air evacuation unit. We had I can't remember how many doctors we had, 2 or 3 doctors and probably 6 or 7 of these buddies, my corpsmen. And during the EWO campaign, we flew from Guam to EWO, picked up casualties, and flew back to Guam. There's a naval hospital in Guam. And we did that till Iwo Jima was secured. And then when Iwo Jima was secured, the trained air evacuation unit showed up. And then we were sent back to Peleliu, where the 1st Marines were.
Okay, so what happened, when you went over to, were you dealing with the wounded there then?
Oh yeah, we handled just casualties. They were already probably, they had them laying out on the runway for us to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
And
so you'd fly in? And
we just fly in, and we had so many minutes because they'd throw mortars at you, and we'd have so many minutes to get our load and get on and fly back to Guam and put them at the Naval Hospital. And every time we fly out of we did, I don't know, and I can't remember how many trips we made a day. I know we made more than one, because I know we'd start out early in the morning, like 6 o'clock in the morning, and we didn't get done until 10 o'clock at night. And we were flying them and moving casualties. And we had our own ambulance drivers that we got to know real well. And they were this one that was my favorite was his dad was an American Marine, had been stationed on Guam prior to the war, and he took me into his village one night. He says, "I want you to meet my family," and the villages were off limits. So I laid down on the back in the stretcher in the ambulance, because he was able to take the ambulance home with him. And I meet his own family. And I remember this, we're going to have supper that night. He said, "We got to have a drink." They make some kind of a potent drink. And so he sets a can, there's like 12 of us sitting around the room. And he sets his can down in front of me, and I thought it was all mine. And I drank a little, and they passed it around, and I had a few more, and all at once I was out. I woke up the next morning, didn't know where I was, and he says, "We gotta go." Got in the ambulance, got back and laid on the stretcher, and went through they had guards on the gates, and it was kind of interesting. And I wish I would, their family was really a nice family, but.
You don't have a whole lot of recollection about that incident, though.
Anyway, when I got back, they gave me a jug of this stuff to take back to where I was staying at the hospital. I gave it to my buddies, and I was gone, and that night they came back, they said, "Oh," they had a rough day too with it, so. But we were on, I don't know how long we were on Guam during, we were there for the whole campaign on Iwo. But then, when the unit relieved us, Iwo was just about done.
What was the news like at the time? Did you get any news, the newspapers? Did you see you know, what the outside world was seeing?
Oh, we
From their
heard Tokyo
perspective?
Rose all the time, you know.
You listened to that on the radio?
Well, yeah, somebody had a radio on, and,
Tell me about listening to that.
pardon?
Tell me about listening to Tokyo Rose. What did you
Oh,
guys do when you
she was
listened?
telling about, you know, I wasn't married, but she was telling about the married guys, all their women were running around with other men and this and that, and, I mean, crazy stuff,
Trying
just,
to get them upset.
yeah, and, you know, you don't pay, I don't know how many radios are around, you know, we'd hear it once in a while. We didn't have, I don't think we had too many, if many, we had some radios, I know, we get to hear it once in a while.
So, how long did this campaign last? And you were there for all of it, basically, right?
Pardon?
You were there for the whole campaign, basically.
Yes. And, God, I remember when we were headed from Peleliu to Guam, we were on a C-47. And we were flying over a Japanese-held island, and one of our engines went out. And the pilot said, "We lost an engine. We might have to land." I looked down, you could see the island down there. I think it was Saipan. And he said, "But I think we can run this thing on one engine." He did. He ran it, and he tried it again later and it started. So we thought we were going to be in Japanese country though for a while.
Pretty frightening, too.
It was really frightening, but just the idea that an engine would go out over the ocean, you know, it wouldn't make any difference if you're where you were. You'd land somewhere probably.
So, what was, if you had to say, what was when you were at Guam, or at Iwo Jima area, what was probably the best experience you had there? Or was
The
there
best-
a best experience?
The best, you know, one of the things I remember we come in one night, got in there about 9, 10 o'clock at night, and we hadn't eaten all day. And so we went to the mess hall, and this cook said, "I just made homemade bread." And he said, "I got some Bermuda onions." We had raw Bermuda onion sandwiches. And he had a slice of Bermuda onion on it. And you know, those Bermuda onions are big. And then we had a beer with it. Oh, was that great. I'll never forget that. He just took the bread out of the oven when we got in. But talk about eat, though. When we were in New Zealand, we had a mess hall. We'd go through the line, and they'd want to know how you want your eggs. You want sausage or whatever you want. Anything you want, they made it for us. And we had ice cream at the end of the line every meal.
Breakfast,
Not
lunch, or dinner?
not one kind, but 6 kinds of ice cream. Oh, was it good? Many nights I'd come in and I got to know the cooks pretty well, and I'd come in at night after, and we got Liberty every night when he was in New Zealand, after 5, whatever it was. We'd come in and always had to come in, see if the mess hall was open so we could have ice cream. Oh, it was good.
So, food is kind of a big part of an experience while you're in the military, and
Yeah.
sometimes it can be good, and sometimes it can be bad. So, do you have a
We had
bad food experience?
I think that was on Guadalcanal. We had an Australian ship came in, and one of the doctors went out to Dicker for some food, and I went with him, and we got a pile of fresh meat. Oh gosh, it was good. We hadn't had any for so long. Oh, I don't know what kind of lamb. Yeah, that's what it was, lamb. And I don't know if you like lamb, but
Mhm.
it was really great. Doctor fixed it for us.
And so, obviously, that was a real treat compared to maybe something else
Yeah,
you've been eating.
well, we hadn't had any for so long, and it was really good.
Um, So after, Iwo Jima is infamous. We see the pictures,
Yeah.
we see, hear the stories of different experiences people have had there, and you were there for the whole time. You must have saw so many individuals there, their experiences.
Yeah.
Can you share with us, something that you've taken from that, that you remember, that, probably lots of things that you'll never forget, but Iwo Jima itself, what's probably your most vivid memory?
On Ewan? I suppose all these wounded people, and I think it made a better person of me that I didn't get wounded or anything like that. And I was in chow line one time, and there wasn't too many in the chow line, but I was standing right next to Dr. Guy, and he got shot. Right in the arm. He blew his arm off, and I'm talking to him. He's talking almost bingo, and a sniper, I figure a mile away, got him. But he went home anyway after that.
That'd be a shock. A terrible experience.
One of the experiences I had too that I remember too. I was on patrol with a group, and we had a tank with us, and they dropped a phosphorus shell in the tank, right through the hatch down this tank. And I crawled in to get the guys out, and a lot of damage to the guys. I remember one of his when we hauled him out, he was badly burning, and I think he had a leg broke or ankle broke or something. But they had a direct hit, put our tank out of commission anyway.
So, after Iwo Jima, where did they send you?
Okay. When we went to Iwo Jima, left Iwo Jima now, it was in June of '45 when I left Iwo Jima, and I got back to our unit in Peleliu, and they told us to inventory all our equipment. And so which we did. We got everything what we had. When we flew from Guam to Peleliu, we flew over Ulithi. And that's a staging area we thought we saw all these ships. Oh, just hundreds and hundreds of ships. So we said, oh, we're going to Japan. And so we get back and we inventoried our equipment, and we got a change of command. And they said, you guys been out here quite a while, haven't you? Well, we had been out there 30 months and wanted to know if we wanted to go home. And be at the airport tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, I think it was. Oh, this is like at noon,
That was sudden.
yeah. We left right then for the airport, laid on the airport till the next morning.
So you were so excited there was no waiting, no chance that you were going to take the
Well,
lady.
you know, I don't know why we were picked, because there was quite a few of us, because I think we had 3 medical officers and some corpsmen and some other officers. We were the only enlisted people on the plane. And we flew to New Guinea first, and then to Hawaii. And we had probably the lowest classification you get for, I think we had a Class D priority, which is about as far as down as you can get, and for enlisted people. And so we get to Hawaii, and they said, they fed us, and that we might not be able to get back on that plane. Well, a couple of doctors kind of said, yes, they are. They're going home. So some officers had to stay back that weren't.
Oh,
And that's kind of unheard of for enlisted men to be able to
get on a plane.
replace an officer on a plane, and we did. And so we flew all the way back from Honolulu to Frisco. Another thing, the nice thing, the funny thing that happened in Frisco, that we landed, I don't know what time of the day it was, and there was a gal that was a bus driver, and and we're all in fatigues, and somebody mentioned the fact that he had to go to the bathroom, and she should never stop. They had one hell of a time rounding us up. They had MPs and shore patrol everywhere at all the taverns, because there's a tavern there.
Oh, you didn't just go to the bathroom?
No, they went to the
Everybody
tavern.
just-
There's about 10 taverns around there, so the shore patrol and the MP would come in one door, and we'd all go out the back door and go into the next tavern, you know. And finally, about 2-3 hours later, they got everybody around up in the bus. Then once they got a guy, he didn't get off the bus again, whether he had to go to the bathroom or not. And that poor girl, I bet you she had never stopped for anything after that, because I think she got in a hell of a lot of trouble for that.
So when was this? Was this 46 by the time you got to San Francisco? Or
No.
45?
This is in 45, June of 45 I got back. But anyway, what happened was, they went into Okinawa, that unit that was staging it at the Ulithi went into Okinawa. So I was that close to going to Okinawa too.
So all those boats you saw
Oh,
were all preparing for...
yeah, there were all kinds of boats, battle wagons and cruisers and destroyers and troop carriers, and there was just thousands of them, just everywhere.
So you got back to San Francisco, and it's June of 45. What happened then?
I gotta leave.
Mhm.
First, I hadn't been home since I joined I never got home,
So you were in from 42 to 46 and never got home?
no. And so on 45, when I got back to States, I got home, I got a month.
45. I think,
Yeah. And then I went back, and my assignment then was, I had independent duty at Shoemaker, and in charge of a sick bay. We had no doctors. We just corpsmen that run it. And I did that till I got discharged. And that's where the guys were coming in and going out overseas. It all went through Shoemaker. A lot of them did. We had a nice sick bay there. I had liberty every day from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock next morning, which was great.
More like a regular job almost.
Pardon?
More like a regular job almost.
Yeah. And, but I thought when I got back, I says, you know, I've been in the Navy all this time, and I never been on a ship, you know, any sign on a ship. So I signed up for duty on the ship, and if the war hadn't stopped, I probably would have got it. I didn't want it after it stopped. And I was in downtown San Francisco when war was over. If you don't think that was a party.
Well, tell me about that day. Tell me about the days preceding that, or what the feelings were, what the news was, what the atmosphere was, what you were doing.
Well, we were when the war is over in August there. One of the guys had a car, and we went downtown San Francisco. Anyway, I ended up the next morning. I had a girl's hat on, great big hat on. I had my pants, but I didn't have a shirt, and it was wild. The funniest thing about it, these fire engines would come out, you know, and it was a long fire engine, you know, and these guys on the steering the back. We were all trying to get a hold of that fire engine to get a ride on that thing, and it was funny, none of us got killed. And firecrackers, oh God, that was something.
So do you remember the exact moment when you heard that the war was over?
Yep.
Where were you at?
I was I was in our sick bay at Shoemaker, and there was two or three of us in charge of the sick bay. If we needed a doctor, then we had to send him somewhere. But we did the initial checks.
You were in the sick bay, and somebody must have came and told you guys that the war was
Well,
over.
I was told we had a radio on. I can't remember exactly, but I remember we left right then. We just says, close it down. But the funny thing, the next morning, here comes a black guy in the sick bay, and he says, Doc, he says, boy, I'm really hurting. I said, oh, what's wrong? He dropped his pants, and he had all kinds of fine shot in him. I said, what the hell happened? Well, he said, I was with this gal, and her husband came home. And I jumped out the window just as he shot. And I picked out shot from him for about an hour, I guess. He was really loaded.
Some of the casualties of war.
Yeah. So
there was quite a party in San Francisco then when the war was over.
was there a party there? You can't believe things you've seen. And they were a lot of drunken servicemen. And everybody was happy, you know, and just, I can still see us.
Tell me, from all your experience in World War II, if you wanted to, maybe before I get there, maybe I should say, tell me about getting back home to Detroit Lakes after you were discharged from the military.
Well, I had made up my mind before I went in the service that I wanted to go to college. And my dad worked for the Northern Pacific Railroad, and my grandfather had. And, you know, you're supposed to follow your parents' footsteps. And I said, no, I'm going to go to college. So I went to North Dakota State then. And I worked for the railroad when I was going to college, but I didn't, just for extra money. I got backstage, I wasn't 21 yet. And one of my friends who was 21, he said, "We're going up the top of the mark." I says, "Okay." So we go up the top of the mark and you couldn't have a drink. And they wouldn't serve me because I wasn't 21. And the gal that owned the operation, she was standing there and she says, "Come with me." She says, you're welcome into my living quarters, and you can drink all you want, and it's not gonna cost you a darn cent. So I went up there about 2 or 3 times and before I went home before I had my birthday, and I took advantage of her. It was great. She said, "Anything you want."
So they were very appreciative
Yeah.
of everybody who'd been in the military, and it
And-
didn't matter what age you were.
And the other thing too, I remember we were in Frisco one night, and that buddy from Arkansas, I could start fights with the big guys, you know, and he was big. He could handle himself, and he'd finish it for me. I always start because he liked to fight. Guess I lost my thought now. What I was going to tell you about.
You were in San Francisco and had a fight going.
Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. Anyway, so we cleaned out the bar, and I don't know how many guys he knocked down, and some wise guys that was in the Navy that hadn't been overseas yet, they didn't respect the corpsmen, I guess. They called us certain things that wasn't very nice, and there were some Marines there one day when they did this. And we're pretty good buddies with the Marines. They cleaned out the whole bar.
So you're protected by the Marines.
You betcha. We have a lot of respect for them, and they had a lot of respect for us. Because we were there when they needed us.
Yeah, definitely. You were actually kind of part of the Marines
Yeah, you know, and the thing is that
when you left.
what I was in the Navy and spent practically all my time in the Navy with the Marines, except my training ahead of time and afterwards. After I got back to the States, but yeah, they're pretty special.
Well, how long were you in San Francisco before you finally got back to Detroit Lakes?
I got back. I came home in June. I can't remember what part of June, and I went back, and it must have been in July, and I was there till the following January. I got discharged in January of '46.
So, when you got back home, what was it like, the difference to you from when you left? How did you feel about that?
I don't know. I wanted. Well, I was really disappointed that I had enough time in and credits or points, whatever you needed. I can't remember now. To be discharged in January. I mean in December. So I'd be home. And I wanted to start school in January. Well, I had to wait, and then I got back, and I was disappointed in that I had to wait till March to get
The
started.
next quarter?
Yeah, and there's no reason I couldn't have got out in December, because I had everything in, but they wanted me there for a short time longer, and I had to stay, but I didn't have any choice. I remember when I got discharged, it says, "You sure there's nothing wrong with you? Let me out of here. I want to get out of here." No, there's nothing wrong with me. So I was pretty fortunate.
If thinking about your military experience and wanted to share something with people who listen to this or listen to tapes or however, people see this down the road, what would you like to say to them about maybe World War II or military experience in general, or?
You know what I think everybody should be required to spend 2 years in the service. I don't care even if they're not really capable of something, there's something they can do. And the discipline, you know, you have more respect for your officers and doctors. We had great relationships with them. And
So you think that if everybody spent some time in the military?
I think they should.
Enriching for them.
And I don't see anything wrong with 2 years of your life. And they can get an education out of it. Besides, I got a free education.
Did what you learned in the military help you in your future life and your
Well, I
work?
think so. You know, it's really funny. I was slated to go to electrician school, you know, when I got out of boot camp, and I didn't get to go. And so when I went to college, I took electrical engineering. So I got in. I got back what I was planning on doing in the first place.
So, what about, what did you do after college? I mean, what was your career like?
I worked for a power company, an engineer for a power company. I worked down in Iowa, and I had charge of the Mason City district, Mason City, Iowa area. And I worked there for 40 years.
Did your experience as a medic ever come in handy later on in life?
You know the first thing that happened, I guess I could say that I might have saved some guy's life. We were icing trains in Dilworth. I was going to school at the time. And one of the guys got caught up in a big gearbox, some kind of a gear deal, and he got his calf, his leg all chewed off. In fact, the whole calf got chewed off. And I talked to, many times, I guess, but this is the worst one I had. And I talked to call the ambulance. The ambulance didn't show. So I went and got my car and drove it across the railroad tracks, about 6 tracks, and got him in and got him to the hospital. The ambulance was just leaving the hospital when I got there. And I had put a tourniquet around his leg. And he had a lot of work done on the leg, but they did save the leg. Huh? And, well, there's been quite a few other things. Yeah, I guess like quite a few things I've done.
That what you learned then in the military was certainly valuable throughout your whole life in many ways.
Yeah. In fact, a couple of years ago, my wife had an appendix operation. She had 2 of them. They had to cut her open twice, and they had the nurse come out, and what she was doing, I said, I can do that. So I did that for about 6 months, I guess.
Handy guy to have around.
Yeah. Can't think of. I know there's been other things that I've done. I knew what to do.
Is there anything else you'd like to share as you're sitting here just thinking about the experiences you've had?
Well, I haven't thought. You know, what bothers me, I didn't even think of the time element. You know, you're out there and you know you're going to be there. We went back to New Zealand about 10 years ago, and I always wanted to go back. And we went over there for about a month. Really enjoyed it.
Did you see any people, or you went to
We
places
tried to
and stuff?
contact some people, and I don't know whatever happened to them, because I had contact with some people over there. when I was over there, and it's, it's so long ago, and they weren't around. We went to their home where they lived, and they weren't there anymore. Yeah.
So you did go back to New Zealand because you'd been there and wanted to see it again?
When I was in New Zealand, we took, a group of us took a trip down, we took a train trip down to Wellington, which is the capital of New Zealand. And that was an experience, quite an experience. And when we were there 10 years ago, we visited both North South Island and spent a lot of time down there. The people were great, gosh. This one couple, I think they got 3 gallons of gas a month, and they'd come over and get us every Sunday for dinner.
That was when you were stationed over
Yeah,
there?
and I wasn't there very long on that. I can't remember exactly how long I was there. And at $3 a gallon, they'd come back, drive over and take us dinner. And then we'd have, I remember this, tea and crumpets. Then we'd have a big meal. And before we left, we had tea and crumpets. Great people. The warm beer, though. I'm not a warm beer drinker.
Those are good memories, people that you meet in other countries like that.
Yeah. We had access to, we'd have, I think they're 5-gallon jugs of alcohol, 190 proof alcohol, and we had access to that all the time
In New Zealand.
and all over. And I don't know if any of us ever drank any of it.
Anything else you'd like to share that you maybe thought about before you came to this interview?
Not really, I don't know. I suppose there is a lot, but I just can't remember it.
Think of anything else, you can call a museum. Do you have any artifacts or pictures or anything?
I might have some, but I don't know where they are.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them for a long time. We had, I think the biggest disappointment that I didn't keep track of some of my buddies that I was with.
Yeah, if you had a magic wand, that might be the one
Yeah.
thing you would change.
You do it now, but I don't know why. We're just all young guys, and we're close together at the time we were together. And no, I don't know if anything else. I'll probably think about stuff later, but.
Well, thank you very much, Aubrey, for
Okay.
your time today. Greatly appreciated. I know there are many, many experiences here in your mind and in your heart that
Yeah.
maybe you haven't been able to share. But I thank you for the ones you have shared, and it gives us another perspective on World War II, obviously, from a medic, who's been out in the field.
Yeah, it's a little different,
You were
and
so young.
and why I got into it, I don't know.
They just assigned you.
And I was a good medic.